Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So glad you could stop in. And I have a friend, her name is Julia. Julia, thank you so much for your support and encouragement. I really appreciate it. And you have asked me if I can show you a couple different techniques that I use to do my brows. So I thought today I would just do a quick little clip for you to show you two different techniques. One is going to be using the e.l.f. brow pomade, and I'm going to also use the Annabelle taupe liner. I think this is a brow liner specifically. It could possibly fall under the realm of eyeliners. I'm not 100% sure on that, but for me it's a perfect color match. I'm obviously blonde. Julia, I know that your hair is a little bit darker, so you might want to go with a medium brown or possibly even a darker shade. Try to stay in the ash colors if you can, the cool base tones. That will help you not have that reddish kind of hue that will sometimes be found with the different browns. So you might want to try that. And ultimately it's just about buying whatever product is going to work for you. So I would recommend that you check a few out, and one great way to do that would be to either sign on to getting products like an IPSY bag, for instance. Hashtag not sponsored by IPSY, but an IPSY bag allows you to select which products you would prefer for them to send you, and you pay a nominal subscription charge every month, and you have these samples sent to you, and possibly a brow product might be in there for you to sample and try out. So once you find the one for you, and these are two of my favorites and I've gone with them for a long time. So I'm gonna go, I think I will do this brow with the pomade, and I will do this one with the pencil. So I might look a little bit weird today, but I'm doing it for you, Julia. So first we're going to get a spoolie. Any spoolie will do. Even if you have an old mascara wand that you no longer use the mascara, rinse that out and wash it out with some liquid soap really well. And you can also use that as a good spoolie for your brows. So it's important that your brows are well groomed, or at least under control. If you have some really long hairs, you might want to consider grooming them first. And what I like to use for that is I have this tool that I use to, well, I think I said for my previous video, I was getting a good laugh out of it, my false eyelash adhesive tool. I've got that, and this is a little comb on the end. So I do believe that it's also an eyebrow groomer. And I also have these scissors. I'm not sure what brand they are. Yeah, the name's scratching off. Anyways, I picked these up at Walmart. They're good quality. Any little scissor will do, as long as you're really careful about the Sharpie ends. And this one has the rounded ends. I don't know if you can see that. And that helps you not to hurt yourself with them. They work really well. So what I do, because I'm blonde already and my brows are not that prominent, I go in, and right now I believe I do have a hair or two that are a little long. Yeah, I do. So one good thing is when you put, this is just a certain thickness. So when you comb into your brow with it, you'll be able to see the wild brow hairs that are out of control sticking out more. And what you can do if you're not accustomed to it, never cut onto the skin ever. I don't recommend that. But you can go in like this, and when you see one or two that are sticking out too much, now I like to trim mine up really, really close. But you know, that's up to your discretion. At least this way you're not plucking the hair, and over plucking will eventually damage the root of that one hair follicle, and it will no longer produce a hair, and that's why we get fine, sparse eyebrows as we age. So it's really important to keep every hair you possibly can, even the gray ones. So I've gone in and just trimmed down that wild one I had, because I do get a couple, and I don't know, they grow overnight. It's like, what is going on with that? So on this brow, I'm going to go in with my pomade. And this is again by e.l.f. I can't remember how much it was, but I did purchase it through Walmart. And I will provide links to all the products I'm mentioning right now below. And just know that I do now have associate links that you can click on, and I will get a small percentage towards your purchase. So it'll also be supporting me. So I would really appreciate that. So this is a lock-on liner in light brown. This is a good color for me. It does have a nice ashy kind of tone to it. So you're going to use a flat liner brush. This one here is by Still Spa Essentials. Again, Walmart purchase. I love going to their beauty section. They have some really good products. And this is just a flat brush, flat angled. And I find too that the more densely packed and stiffer the brow brush is, the better control I get over my application process. So I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to grab a little of the product, which you can do if you're not feeling terribly confident, is just very lightly wipe both sides of it onto the back of your hand to get rid of any excess product. One thing that is really important when you're doing your brows is you want to start, I usually start from the bottom. If you start from the top, you kind of lose control of where your brow ends and begins. So what you want to do is frame the existing brow hairs, and sometimes you have to add a little bit more depending on whether you've lost quite a few brow hairs as a result of over plucking, or sometimes it's just genetic. Some of us don't have really thick eyebrows. So I'm going to start just from the halfway point, say where the iris of the eye is. I'm going to start there, and I am just going to go underneath my existing brow line and then draw out and just like start to lift the brush as I'm going to the very end. I like a longer tail on mine because I have a very wide space on my face here. So I'm able to use almost whatever length of tail I want without looking too silly. Just going to use that product that I have on the brush. I'm going to try and keep this as clean as possible, but don't worry too much if you botch it because you can use concealer to carve out a nice straight edge. And I'm going to just slowly build that up into the hairs. Then I'm starting to reach the upper line of where my brow ends on top. So as I reach into there, now because I'm blonde, I just go in lightly with the product. I don't like using too much because I don't like it looking cakey. You can also do this with eyeshadows. Any good brown eyeshadow or a darker eyeshadow that matches your skin, your eyebrow color will help. And I like to carve a little arch out. And then I'm going to come in and just sharpen that tail. So that's basically how I start my brow, from the iris inward, maybe a little bit more. Now you've got a little bit of residual product on there, but not much. I like to take off whatever excess I have and remove it on the back of my hand. Then I'm just going to create a gradient effect and very lightly just rub onto where the other hairs are. Now you don't want, I think a crucial part of where you want your brows to end and begin is, hold your brush up next to your nostril, and on the inside of the brush is approximately where that gradient should start. And you want that to be the very lightest part of the brow, very lightest shade. So I'm only using residual product that was left on the brush now. Now on me, I kind of like that silver screen look, so I tend to go with a very clean brow. I also don't have really dense, thick brow hair, and because of that, I tend to not draw and flick little hairs like some of the makeup gurus online do. And I mean, I can appreciate that it looks great on them, but I have attempted it many times and haven't had a lot of success. So I'm either gonna have to keep practicing or get this technique down a little bit better, because apparently I'm not quite there. Now that I've got that one done, let's go ahead and try the liner. So right now it's a little bit dull. This is too dull for me to do my brows, so I'll go in with my sharpener. And just make sure that it's sharpened enough that I have a pretty clean edge on it. And this one's essentially the very same technique. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start lining it just under where my last hairs end. And with the pencil though, I don't build it up like I did with the pomade. What I do instead is I go to the very top hairs on my brow and start to construct my arch around that. And I like the waxiness of the pencil because it really does help keep the crazier, wilder brow hairs under control. It's not perfection we're looking for here, just a way to frame the existing brow. So again, I'm going to elongate that tail a little bit. And then I'm just going to very gently, and I mean there's almost no pressure being applied right now, very, very gently, I'm going to just go over the interior space where the brow hairs are between the two lined edges I just created. And then I'm going to just even more lightly now, I'm essentially just touching the brow hairs with this pencil liner. And I'm just gonna color in, make sure I have no holes. Super, super light. And if you're going to do, if you're not sure on your pressure, the best place to start is at the lower part of the brow, not the upper. Because if you go too crazy with pigment at the top, you might lose sight of how you're going to get that bottom blended in. The bottom part is usually the most pigmented area in a natural brow. And then I'm going to fade this to a gradient that's so, so light. Okay, so I think that looks reasonably matched. I think I've got something on my forehead too. So there's a couple of different brushes that you can use, but I don't have my square one right now, but I do have somewhere a flat brush that's completely square and very, very flat, similar to this liner brush, but instead of it being angular, it's flat. You can use one of those. You can use, this is a MAC 248. I really love the quality of this brush. Is fantastic. I can see why MAC is what it is, because this is a beautiful brush, and this is just a very flat concealer brush. And this is also a flat concealer, and I got this at the dollar store, and you can pick them up occasionally. Every now and again it loses a hair or two, but it's still been a great little brush just to clean up stuff. So I'm going to go in with the MAC one though. Let's be bougie. Then I'm going to go in with any concealer of your choice. Ultimately, you don't want to select one that's like super, super light. You want to try and stick with whatever concealer you're using in the under eye. And you want one that's going to have really good pigmentation to it. So this is the Liquid Camouflage High Coverage Concealer by Catrice that I was reviewing last week. And I'm going to put a tiny little bit, which I probably even put more than I need to, on the back of my hand. Then I'm going to very, very lightly, and I mean so little, going to just blend out the edge of that concealer onto my brush and just bleed a little of it into the brush. Now I'm going to go in, and I've already done a pretty clean job of it, but I'm just going to coax this as a straight line under the brow. And because I'm so accustomed to doing it now, I can just do it in one swipe without even having to. But when you're starting out and you're not feeling too sure, just do it very slowly in tiny little short strokes at a time, and that will work equally well. So this not only is going to carve out that brow really nicely for you, but it's also going to help you get a slight highlight on the brow bone. So because my upper part looks pretty good right now, I'm not going to go in and add a whole bunch, but I'm just going to put a little bit of highlight right here because I like a super sharp tail. And make sure when you do that you blend it out. Blend out the edge of that because you don't want that highlight showing up as just a blob of concealer there. Then I'm going to go in and do the very same thing on this side. It's actually kind of tough to do this in a mirror like this. Usually I do this in my big mirror. It's been a real challenge to get comfortable doing this with a handheld mirror, because it's not typically the way I do it. And then I'm just going to go in and clean up that edge as well. And then if you don't feel too confident that you did a good job with your concealer, no problem. Take a beauty blender or even a brush, makeup brush, and just go over that and diffuse it a little bit so that it doesn't look so stark. And that, my doll, is how I do my brows with pomade and eyebrow pencil. So I hope this was helpful. And Julia, I do appreciate the request. It gives me ideas for content that I can provide to you, and I'm always excited and anxious to do that for you. So please be sure and subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell icon if you're interested in being notified whenever a new video on my channel comes up. And if you have found this helpful, I encourage you to click that like button. So I hope you have an amazing day. Once again, I send love I send hugs. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.